Now let us read about travel in space. Going into space is an out of this world experience. Out of this world experience, because going into space is such an experience which we cannot get living on the earth. It is really out of this world. It is a very, very different experience. Without Earth's gravity, there is a sense of weightlessness which can be quite confusing. As you all know, that we are able to stand on the earth, we are able to walk on the earth, the things are on their places just because of the gravity of the earth, the gravitational pull of the earth, which is missing in outer space. So there is a sense of weightlessness, भार महसूस नहीं होता in the space. Astronauts sometimes even find it difficult to sense where their arms and legs are. It is a little bit similar to being in water. If you have experienced swimming, or if you have been underwater for some time, you must know that it's for a little bit of time it is difficult to feel our body. We have the feeling of weightlessness, and similar feeling the astronauts get when they are in the space. Like they even feel it difficult to feel where their arms and the legs are. At the beginning of the journey, a space traveler often experiences motion sickness, but it gets better with time spent on board. So, yes, motion sickness. Some of us have motion sickness, like if we are traveling to some hilly area, or not even to hilly area, we are just traveling in a bus or in a car, we feel like vomiting, right? So that is kind of motion sickness. So same way, travelers, the astronauts, they experience motion sickness, but as they spend more time in the space, they get used to it. The weightlessness also affects the movement of blood in the body and the bones and the muscles. Now our body is made to live on the earth. The more time human body spends in the outer space, it has more negative effect. It affects our blood movement, it affects our bones, our muscles. Eating can also pose interesting challenges. Why interesting challenges? Because there are the way of eating and drinking is very different on in the space as of the earth. For example, salt and pepper, one of the most basic additions to food, have to be used in liquid form. Otherwise, they would simply float away or get stuck in an astronaut's eyes, nose, or throat. When astronauts get back, they have to readapt themselves to Earth's gravity. Many astronauts who have spent a long time in space have sometimes let go of a cup or other objects in midair and been shocked when it crashed to the floor. So, astronauts are in a habit. For example, you are an astronaut and right now you are in the space and you are drinking tea. Right? You have a cup in your hand, you are drinking tea, no need to put it down. You just leave it in the air and it will float. आप उसे बीच में छोड़ देंगे और वह तैरेगा. It will not fall down because there is no gravity. And after spending 1 month or 15 days, when astronauts come back to Earth, they have this problem, they face this problem. Their body takes time to readapt and readjust, right? Like they have a cup of tea in their bedroom now, and what they will do, they will sip it and they will leave it in between the air, and they will feel that it will float. But now they are on the earth, it will crash to the floor, it will get like broken. So the bodies take time, the mind also takes time to adjust itself. Now let us read about a brief history of space tourism. Earlier, before Dennis Tito, has anybody gone as a tourist to the space? Yes. Let us read about it. Until now, up to 303 manned flights, space flights have taken place. Until November 2013, a total of 536 professional astronauts from 38 countries have traveled to space. Before Tito, a few other people had also been to space, though not as self-funded tourists. NASA in 1998, NASA sent astronaut turned Senator John Glenn on the spacecraft Space Shuttle to study the effects of aging. At 77, he was the oldest person to fly in space. Glenn was also the first American to orbit space in 1962. So, yes, before Dennis Tito, there were people who had gone as tourists, but they were not self funded, means they did not use their own money to go to space, but somebody else sent them. Like, there was a person named John Glenn. He was a senator. Senator means related to politics, right? So NASA, he was of 77 years of age, and NASA had spent money on him to send him to the space to study the effects of aging, how the body ages, means body बूढ़ी कैसे होती है स्पेस में, क्या असर होता है स्पेस का हमारी एज पर, to study those effects of aging. In 1990, a Japanese TV network company paid $28 million to Russia to launch their journalist Toyohiro Akiyama to meet space station for a week. Yes, another tourist who went to space was Toyohiro Akiyama. He was sent by a Russian TV. He was a TV journalist and he was sent by their television network, right, to broadcast daily news from the space station. This was the first commercial use of the space station. During his stay in Mir, Akiyama gave a daily broadcast from orbit. The world's second space tourist was the South African internet tycoon Mark Shuttleworth. So, who was the second one? The second space tourist? Mark Shuttleworth. Who also traveled to ISS, means International Space Station, on 25 April 2002. Like Tito, he took off from Baikonur Cosmodrome at Kazakhstan on a Russian Soyuz. Cosmodrome means beta like flights. From where do planes fly? Airports. So, from where do space shuttles fly, in which the astronauts sit and go? From cosmodromes. Like buses, we have bus stand. For planes, we have airports. For space shuttles, we have cosmodromes. Right? During his stay, so Mark Shuttleworth stayed for some time in the space, and what he did during his stay, he had a radio conversation with Nelson Mandela and a 14-year-old terminally ill girl. Terminally ill is a condition which cannot be cured, means व्यक्ति की ऐसी कंडीशन जिसको ठीक ना किया जा सकता हो, ऐसी बीमारी जिसको ठीक ना किया जा सकता हो, व्यक्ति की मृत्यु निश्चित हो, right? So terminally ill girl. He also conducted experiments on AIDS. AIDS is a disease. And genome research. Now this genome research, genomes means beta we have, as our body, we have cells in our body and we have genes in our cells. Okay, so the study related to the cells of the body and the genes of the body is called genome study, genome research. Shuttleworth also talked to school students in South Africa through a ham radio. Since Shuttleworth, there have been 5 self-funded space tourists, most of them American. Now, can space travel harm the environment? A scientific study published in 2010 says that space tourism can harm the environment by increasing the speed of global warming. How global warming will increase? Because if the number of space tourists will increase, more space rockets will go into space. They will require more diesel, more pollution, more global warming. It says that the Earth's ozone layer could also be affected. What is ozone layer? It is a layer which covers the Earth and it protects the Earth from harmful ultraviolet rays of the sun. But for the present, space tourism is one of the most exciting frontiers of technology which the world is eager to explore. Yes, it is a very interesting front. If we all have millions and billions of money, we all will pay it and we all want to go to space. So it is a very interesting frontier, but still it has its own hazards. अपनी कमियां हैं इसकी, right? It harms the environment.